And now, as part of MPT's American Graduate Initiative, a look at how homelessness can further challenge the academic success of far too many Maryland children. With a look at one program, here's MPT's Yolanda Vazquez.
I just hope no one have to go through this, like what I'm going through. Like, I hope my children won't have to go through this, or anyone's children will have to go through this.
Malcolm Wiggins, a 17-year-old who attends Digital Harbor High, is going through a tough time.
It's been really, really hard since we've been up here, especially us being homeless.
He and his dad moved to Baltimore from North Carolina after a family dispute.
And my dad is trying to provide a better place for the whole entire family. But my mom does not see it that way, so they had to separate.
But that separation has left Wiggins in a state of flux, and he's not alone.
I got put out my my adopted father's house 2 months ago, and I was on the streets for 2 months.
Michael is also a homeless teen. During the harsh winter months, he lived in an abandoned building in Baltimore City.
The house almost caught on fire, and it burnt the half of the wall, so it had holes in the ceiling, so there was only one room that was still good, so I just slept in that room, but it was cold. I ain't had no cushions.
So how did you stay warm?
It was coats in there. It was big coats, so I just wrapped myself in a big coat.
Fortunately, both of these young men have found a temporary home at Loving Arms, an emergency shelter that works with youth and young adults.
What we do here is we are a safe space, okay? Although we are officially a shelter, the kids a few years ago wanted us to change that name and call it a solution center.
By day, the facility serves as a drop-in center for teens where they can hang out, do homework, and get a hot meal. At night, it turns into a full-fledged shelter with 9 beds for a residential 21-day stay. President and CEO Cindy Williams says the teens that come here have experienced everything from abuse to neglect to abandonment.
We see a lot of young people that are living in abandoned buildings, okay? And the other real scary piece for me is those young people that have to hook up with other people and exchange themselves for food and shelter, which no child should have to do in order to have a safe place to sleep at night.
Williams opened her center in 2009. She says on any given day, there are 800 homeless youth and young adults in Baltimore City, and the numbers are growing.
We're the only program of our type in the entire state of Maryland. We are it.
So why do you think that's the case if there's clearly such a need?
I believe that the state is beginning to really see that they have to do something, though. So my prayer is that within the next year, we'll see some changes in that.
But Williams isn't the only one dealing with the issue of homeless teens. School systems throughout Maryland are on the front lines of this never-ending battle.
When you are a teenager and you're faced with where am I going to sleep tonight, that may be your #1 concern.
And that's where Mary Jo Slowey comes in. She's the school system's homeless liaison.
The bottom line is what we're trying to do is provide services as quickly as possible, make sure homeless students are enrolled and that any barriers to their success are removed.
That includes getting them on a free or reduced meal program, providing school supplies and transportation. This chart shows the increase in homeless student enrollment from a little over 300 in 2001 to more than 3,000 in 2014.
So when you look at the trend, we're probably doing a better job of identifying, but we have a homeless problem in Baltimore County. Everybody knows that. The eviction rate and the foreclosure rate is still alarming.
While the school system is doing their best to meet the needs of homeless students, the problem doesn't end there. It also exists throughout Baltimore County, where a 10-year plan is in place to prevent and reduce homelessness for everyone, but especially amongst the most hidden population, young teens.
I think that we, as a county, need to be focused on our unaccompanied youth and our homeless youth. The school system does a phenomenal job of doing that, and I'd like to see us all come together.
Sue DeSantis with Baltimore County Department of Planning says they've queried a number of homeless teens.
So we've talked to that age range of people in our shelters to say, what got you into this position? What could have changed for you? What resources do you need? And we've collected that information so that we can use that in our process of planning as well.
She admits that while the county doesn't have shelters specifically designed for homeless youth, only families and young adults, they're aware of the problem.
rapid rehousing and permanent housing are other strategies within this 10-year plan, and we want to be able to get to that place, but I think we're going to get there through years of work around finding out where they are.
Williams is on the lookout as well. She drives her van around town, handing out these flyers with a simple 2-word plea.
No child should have to figure out where they're going to sleep at night. I had a kid that said to us one time, they say that home is where the heart is, but where is that if you've never had a home?
As for Michael and Malcolm, both are staying at Loving Arms, but they know it's only a temporary fix and hope their future is much brighter than their past.
And I just hope no one ever be in this type of situation, because I'm a strong person, and with all of this going on, it is really tough, but I think I can deal with it. And I just pray I just move past this big wall.
I'm Yolanda Vazquez for State Circle.
And with us now in the studio is Shalita O'Neale, founder and CEO of Hope Forward. Shalita, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us about your group and the need that you fill.
Well, I started a nonprofit called Hope Forward, and we work with young people who age out of the foster care system, ages 17 to 25, and we help them with housing, employment, educational resources, whatever it is that they need to get connected to, we help them with.
Now, age out of the foster care system means that the state kind of washes its hands.
Right. The youth are responsible for being adults at that point, and in Maryland, it's the age of 21.
Tell me about your background. You entered foster care at 13?
Yes, officially I came into foster care when I was 13, but I was in kinship care with different family members from the time I was 3 years old up until I was 13, bouncing back and forward before officially coming into foster care.
So you've seen this from both sides. I mean,
Yes.
the provider side now. And
Yes.
on your website, there's a long list of various organizations.
Yes.
How does it all work together?
Well, as far as the organizations that you've seen on our website, that may be partners or funders, which we can't do our work without the funders who have invested in us over the past 7 years. What we really work to do is partner with organizations like earlier that was featured in Loving Arms to really leverage resources to help young people who are homeless.
Where's the greatest need?
Wow, there's so many needs, but really addressing the needs, the homeless need, the housing need for young people who are aging out or who have never been in foster care but are teenagers and are homelessness, we need housing first and foremost. And then after that, of course, we need to be able to help these young people get employed and develop skills that are going to help them be stable.
And I think someone in Yolanda's story referenced it, that when you're not sure where you're going to sleep at night, education isn't your number one concern.
No.
Now, for people who are aging out, what are the educational opportunities? Because they may have aged out of the public schools as well.
Well, they have a lot of resources. Maryland, for one, has what they call a tuition waiver. So young people who have aged out of the foster care system now, legislation has pushed the age to 25. They can go to school, a public state institution for free. And there's also the education training voucher, the ETV, that will also help young people who are trying to achieve post-secondary education. Unfortunately, a lot of young people are having a hard time, with being able to take advantage of that because they're not ready for college when they age out. Because in foster care, they move from place to place, and that means different schools and different families, and so it's hard for them to even be really where they should be, educational-wise, to be able to take advantage of those resources.
What kind of calls do you get on a daily basis?
Well, I get a lot of calls, especially from young ladies who have children who are at risk of losing their kids because they are homeless. So with our emergency transitional housing program, we're able to help them through that, to help them with their emergent need of housing and food for their young people, for their children. We also, we just recently got a call about a young man who just aged out, who was in danger of actually going to jail, and he had no resources, no family, but the judge allowed us to work with him, and they waived a 15-year sentence for him to be able to get the resources he needed. So,
what resources do you need to be able to do your work more effectively?
Well, of course, as a nonprofit, the funding is definitely what we need to be able to support our transitional housing program. There's a push towards just supporting emergency or permanent. But for this population, these young people, 18 to 25 is who we work with, there's a need for transitional housing, and not many people want to fund that. So we definitely need funding resources. We need volunteers, to volunteer to be mentors as well.
Shalita O'Neale is founder and CEO of Hope Forward. Enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for coming by. Best of luck.
Thank you so much.
And for more information, you can visit MPT's American Graduate website for valuable resources, support, and programs for homeless youth and families in Maryland.